Hey there everyone, it's me again, and today I'm bringing you the only true Necromancer build. That of course means minions, at least most of them, but we will get back to that later. Please don't try this gimmicky train wreck of a build in ranked. So at this point you might be wondering, well, Minion Necromancer isn't this just a condition necro with one or two minions to act as meat shields? And no, it isn't. I actually took every minion ability except for Fleshworm, because, well, Fleshworm doesn't move, it's not really a minion, it's basically just a turret that you can blink back to. But no, I wanted to go all minions, so these are all the minions that actually follow you, and I wanted to see how well they scale, if they actually even scale with your power, and we will get back to that later. So that pretty much determined what weapons we will be using, and that's an axe and a warhorn for our first weapon set, because the axe is a decent source of vulnerability. Also, it's got a cripple with some dark energy explosion. Yeah, basically it deals extra damage to low health targets. And the warhorn provides us with daze and a little bit of swiftness with some extra life stealing capabilities. And for our second weapon set we got a dagger, which is here basically for the life siphon, and dark pact, which immobilizes our target. And yeah, it bleeds us, but we don't really care about conditions that much. And then we got a focus, which again, excellent source of vulnerability, and on its final skill, again, more vulnerability, extra damage per boon, and chill. So what about the specializations? So for our first specialization we take Death Magic, where we choose Flesh of the Master, which provides us with extra toughness and it increases health of our minions. Next up we got Necromantic Corruption, which transfers conditions from us to our enemies, and it's the only way to actually get rid of conditions in this build, but it's really efficient and it's passive, so you don't have to really worry about it. And finally we got Death Nova, which causes our enemies to our minions to release a poisonous cloud when they die, and it's one of the main reasons why a condition build would be, I think, much more viable when used in conjunction with some minions. But I really wanted to see how well the minions actually scale with power, if they scale at all. And yeah, I didn't expect much, but I was still pretty disappointed. Next we got Spite, where we choose Bitter Chill, which causes basically chilled enemies to take more damage. Awaken the Pain, which makes Might more potent when applied to us, and Close to Death, which causes us to deal increased damage to low health enemies. And our final specialization is Blood Magic, where we take Quickening Thirst. This is just a movement speed increase, and Dagger skill recharge boost. Next we take Banshee's Veil, which increases effectiveness of Warhorn scale and reduces their recharge time. And finally Unholy Martyr, which causes us to take off conditions from our allies and apply them to ourselves while entering the Shroud And yeah, it's we don't really do much with these conditions, but since we already got Necromantic Corruption and we got several minions out at once, I thought it would be a nice touch to actually be at least a little bit useful to our team. So is this actually any good? Yes, as you can see, a lot of these abilities actually revolve around conditions and transferring of conditions, and I did some, well, I wouldn't call it research, yes, but the minion damage actually doesn't really scale with power. Some sources say it doesn't scale at all, while other sources claim it scales, but the scaling is so minimal it really doesn't matter much. I would say that it scales, but really the scaling is pitiful. Oh yes, and we can't forget our equipment, which is Demolisher Amulet with Rune of Vampirism, just because I really didn't care about crit. I just wanted to see how much the minions scale you with power. Next we got Sigil of Courage and Sigil of Peril in our first weapon set, and Sigil of Escape and Sigil of Energy in our second weapon set. So here I am, surrounded by my Smelly petting zoo, and as you can see, actually when you summon any of the minions, the ability transforms into something else. So in case of the Blood Fiend, you actually can sacrifice him to gain a burst of healing. Bone Field can immobilize itself to immobilize an enemy. Shadow Fiend inflicts blindness, chill and weakness. Bone minions just explode, and the Flesh Golem has a charge, but the charge actually doesn't stop when he hits your target. It has a set range, and he will keep running until he reaches the end of the range. It's not like he would stop. So it can be a little tricky to use effectively, because more often than not you actually make him charge someone, then he overcharges him. Of course he hits the enemy, but overcharges him, and then he has to run back and get him, which is not really efficient. Oh, and one more thing. Your bone minions, they actually count as 2 minions for the Death Carapace passive, so they each provide 2 stacks of the toughness buff. However, if you lose one, you will have to either sacrifice the other one or wait for him to die before you can actually summon the second one you're missing.
Remember, the only way we'll prevail is to slay our enemy's lord. strike down their lord.
Making them so disposable. Refreshing.
Repel them! They're at our inner gate now. Repel them!
My name is Kibble Leftball, Lightbringer of the Order of Whispers, and I'm agent to you.
They've made it through to us. Knights, unvulnerable! They're at our inner gate now. Repel them!
In this, kill their lord! Now this town belongs to us. This is it, mates. Keep them out.
And that marks the end of today's video. I was pretty busy for the past several days, and when I finally got time to record this, some construction workers or something started just hammering and sawing and all that in our street, and it was basically so loud that I couldn't do anything. Even when I had a call with my colleagues, and yes, I do have a proper job, they couldn't really hear me. So in the end, I'm just glad I somehow managed to get this video out. Thank you very much for watching, and hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this one. See you next time.